Hey guys, so I know there's a lot to 4.03 as far as information. It's a lot to digest, so I was going to go through some of that with you. But we're talking about publicity, and most companies and teams or people under contract have someone to help them with their publicity. So I know Surrey County Schools has a public relations person, and they're the ones, you send them information and they get it to the newspapers. They do our press releases that go out to the newspapers and to WXII and things like that. So they know how to handle the press, and they know how to use publicity to build your brand and not hurt it in any way. So we're going to talk about a press release first. This is a factual announcement created by the business itself. They're saying we have something to say and we need to share it. And it can be locally, nationally, internationally, and you have a public relations person or department. Usually the people who work in public relations are well spoken and they know when to talk and when not to talk. So purposes of press releases, you might be a new product or keeping the business in the public eye, putting the business's image in a better light, or something like that. Support good employee relations and create community relations with the business. So information on your press release, there's hard copies that are used. They're sent out more often than not. We use soft copies now. But hard copies is information that needs to be announced immediately. Sometimes they'll hold a press conference, especially in sports, so that you're hearing the information not from a news media site, but from the team itself. And it's something the public will want to know about it right away. If it's a soft copy, it's not breaking news. It's just something that can be shared. So you want to prepare your press release. Only use facts. Press releases aren't meant to have a lot of descriptive, creative type language. You just want to use the facts and then know who you're going to send it to. Is it the TV station? Is it your customers? But put the important information first. So I'm going to say, let's say you've got a press release about gaining a new player. Yes, we would want to know that as fans of that team. But what if you're a company and something bad has happened? So, for example, I'm the public relations specialist for a produce company, and we have just been made aware that some of our lettuce or whatever that we have sent across the country is contaminated. And so we write a press release saying we're trying to get it off the shelves. Please check your refrigerator. Make sure you don't have this bag with this number. We're trying to keep a catastrophe from happening. Or maybe it's an apology press release. I'll give you an example of Papa John's. The CEO of Papa John's got in some trouble year before last or last year. Made some derogatory remarks racially. And he was pulled. They made a press release immediately, and he apologized, and he said, I'm stepping down, blah, blah, blah. And he knew that this was going to be bad, but he was going to try and make it as soft a landing for the company as possible. And I think that helped them because he didn't deny it. It didn't make a big deal of it. He come on, said, I did it. I'm sorry. I'm stepping down. I don't want to hurt this company. And so the company has kind of bounced back from that. So you want to stick to the facts and facts only. Don't bring emotions into it. And be clear and easily understood, and use active verbs. And watch your grammar and spelling. That can be very embarrassing. One letter can mean the difference between two different words. And I know that sounds crazy, but you have to be careful. So this is an example. Sending it to the media. Obtain media deadlines. If you want it on the 6 o'clock news, when do they have to have it? If you want it in the paper, what time do they have to have it? That sort of thing. And you need to send it to, you need to know who you're sending it to. It doesn't just need to go to WXII. It needs to go to a specific person with a cover letter and a thank you note once the release is done. Arrange your information appropriately. Now, a newsletter is a bulletin that goes out periodically in business organization to communicate with the public. It can be printed, it can be online. Now, this is more of your creative types of writing. You have catchy content and blend in some of your articles and your advertisements. Call them friends, make it feel very close to them. Research, look at other newsletters, especially if you can look at the competition and see what kind of stuff they're sending out. And develop who's going to do what and how the public relations department is going to handle that. And the biggest thing with a newsletter is edit. So one time I had some students write, it was a Microsoft class, and they had to create a newsletter, and they chose a theme. I didn't care what the theme was. So I had a student who had chosen the NFL, and so all of his stories in there were from the NFL at the time. And it was near the Super Bowl, and I was grading his work, and I was reading an article he had written, and I think it was the Redskins, and it said they had like 11 Super Bowl championships. And I knew that wasn't right. I mean, I knew it wasn't right. But then I looked at he had cited his source, and so I looked at his source, and his source was wrong. His source had that, and it was like ESPN. It was like a major news place, and they had that the Redskins had won 11 Super Bowls. So you need to know, you need to make sure what you're writing is true, and that you trust where it's coming from. A media guide is a booklet, a press booklet that is really easy to get to in case of emergency. So we've had a crisis in our company, or something has happened, and we need to quickly know who to contact when, which TV and newspaper reporters to contact, and the guidelines for writing a press release quickly. So when something comes up, we can do that. So budget how much your media guide will cost, who's going to advertise in your media guide, page layouts, printing and distribution, is it going to be online? So media relations, the media keeps us informed, and they entertain us, and they build up events, whether it's a sporting event or a red carpet event or whatever. They motivate us to want to watch it. Sports, in turn, and entertainment gives the media news to attract the public interest. So they go hand in hand with each other, and they help each other out a whole lot. So public relations versus media relations. Public relations is communicating with all the many people an organization may have a relationship with. So that's your employees, your customers, your fans, your communities, the media. Whereas the media relation is only interaction with the media. This is not where you hold a press conference would be considered public relations. Media relations is where you contact a reporter and have them come interview you, or you're sharing a story with a journalist or whatever. So that's what media relations are. A lot of times we use beat writers, and these are writers assigned to cover specific topics. So there's beat writers out there that only handle the human side of athletics. Like, they're the ones that go in and want to meet the athletes' families and talk about their private lives and their families. Whereas you have specific beat writers out there who want to talk specifically about their abilities. You have columnists who they may write a sports column each week, or they may have, whatever. You have your TV broadcasters, your radio game broadcasters, and your photographers. And I know those are a lot of careers that I find my students are really interested in. If you have a good voice, radio game broadcasters really enjoy what they do, and they have a good voice. So with media relations, we have positive and negative effects. So you can look at this. Money is obviously a positive effect. It helps the media companies pay for the rights to show a sporting event. They want it on their channel. It shows us role models, gives us inspiration, and it's a coaching aid. So the negative effects, only really popular sports get much attention. Think about the women's NBA. You know, you have to look hard to find a women's NBA game to watch. And I don't know why that is. There's different, if we were together, we could have a discussion on that and why that is. So lack of attendance, maybe games shown on TV, the ticket sales will drop. One of my favorite stories, one of my best friends from high school, his parents told me when he was like 6 or 7, they took him to his first NASCAR race. And it was like August in Darlington. And said about a third of the way through the race, he started tugging on his dad's arm. And he said, "Hey, Dad, did you know we could be at home watching this in the air condition?" I mean, the kid is right there at a NASCAR race. And all he was thinking about is, I could be at home watching this in air condition. So sometimes that kind of can backfire on you. And then the media coverage impacts other things as well. Crisis. We have to be able to know that there's going to be crises, no matter what we do to try to prepare for that or whatever. Sports or celebrities altogether, they chose that life. And when they do, their personal lives are then covered by the media. So being able to overcome negative publicity, you can say the wrong thing to the wrong person, do the wrong thing, attend the wrong event, and your name is mud. So, we've got to be able to use media relations to help soften the blow of that crisis. All right, this just goes through, and I'm going to let you look at this, go through how we cultivate positive media relations, how we are interactive, proactive, and reactive. So I hope this helps you see how the media and public relations go hand in hand. The important thing is, when we go back to press releases, that as a sports company or a sports organization, we are proactive in trying to stay ahead in form of media. So we want our people to know. We want our people to be aware of what's going on in our organization, but we want to keep it on the positive. We could pull in the big mistake that the Panthers made just a couple of weeks ago, or a month or two ago. It seems like just yesterday. But they made a public statement that made it sound like Cam Newton wanted to leave, that he was in agreement that it would be best if he left the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton came back in his own tweets and I can't remember, in his social media, and he said, "Do not play with these words. Do not make it sound like I'm okay with this. You guys have asked me to leave." And so they were not up front. And I think that regardless of who the athlete is, you should never play with words and twist words to make you look good. I think you should always be honest. Honest is important, because then you have a lot of people who are really upset over not just the fact that they were letting Cam go, but the fact that the way they handled it was not ethical. So you want to stay ahead of what might happen before a crisis hits, that I can have a good relationship with the media, that they'll treat us well when we need them. So I hope this helps and makes you understand the importance of public relations. It's a really good job if you are good with people and like to be in a leadership role. So it's pretty fun. So I'll talk to you guys later.